Welcome back. Professor Ian Hickey is one of Australia's leading voices on mental health. I spoke with him earlier from the Brain and Mind Centre in Sydney. Professor Hickey, thank you for your time. This is a hard conversation to have because there's always the fear that it might be triggering, but then it seemed to us like we needed to open the window on this because what we're all currently doing as a society isn't fixing the problem. Am I right?
Absolutely. One of the great myths in this area is that if we talk about it, we'll make it happen. The research, the reality is the opposite. These are conversations we need to have nationally, in our schools, in our families, to keep people safe.
Okay, so let's assume, and I am assuming, that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of families watching tonight who are battling this very problem. Parents whose children are in the sort of pain that we have just been hearing about. What do they do? What's the first thing they need to do, and how do they start that conversation?
So the first thing is, don't be afraid. Your kids really need you. You might not always feel that your kids need you, but they do. So parents actually being able to have these conversations themselves. Most of the work we do with young people, they are talking to other young people every day about these issues, but young people don't necessarily know what to do next. They need parents, they need others, they need aunts and uncles and people who care about them to engage in these conversations.
Are young people getting the right feedback from other young people? I mean, you've just said it's important for them to talk to their parents, but when they talk to other young people, are they getting the right information back, or are they bouncing around in an echo chamber?
So one of the dangers in the current situation is a 14-year-old seeks advice from a 14-year-old who's got no other knowledge of the world, no other experience of coping with tough times, has never used the health system, and although well-meaning, may well know not what to do and may actually make the situation worse. So actually it's critical that we don't simply say to young people, get more advice from young people. The problem is people our age being afraid to have the conversation. We grew up, we didn't know what to do, we didn't know where to turn next. Young people know it's the issue, but they need our help to make the systems work and to keep them safe.
When we grew up, it wasn't the problem that it is now. I mean, it happened, of course, but it didn't seem to have the magnitude, and it wasn't happening to children as young as it is now. Why is it so big? Why is it growing, and why are they getting younger?
Unfortunately, we don't know the answer, but we do know that it is happening. So whatever is happening in our wider world, which is not only happening in Australia, means that young people are in more trouble and at earlier ages, and the risks associated with that have gone up. So whatever the cause, that isn't really the issue. The issue is, what do we do right now to keep people safe? That we do know what to do. That's have the conversations, explain how people have got by in past generations through support, not on their own, not figuring it out, not asking another 14-year-old, but by actually engaging with adult solutions and staying safe.
Are governments doing enough? I mean, the federal government will say that it's spending hundreds of millions of dollars on mental health. Is it not spending it the right way? Is it not spending it in the right places? I mean, is there enough?
We have never invested enough in mental health. We're just like every other Western nation. We invest in cancer, we invest in cardiovascular disease for men my age, we invest as we do now in infection control. We've never really invested in mental health, and very specifically in youth mental health. So now the challenge is there, and it's a challenge in the COVID era, which is so much greater and so urgent. So this October 6th, this federal budget has to change that this year to save young lives this year and next year. The situation is now urgent. It requires national leadership, and it requires dollars and smart investments to match the well-meaning rhetoric.
Give me a figure. How many dollars?
We need to invest at least $1 billion more a year in mental health, with strong focus on suicide prevention in young people and on better systems for emergency care. So we are at least $1 billion a year short, and we would expect the Morrison government to put in at least $1 billion a year more for the next 4 years. Now, I'd say that's from the federal government. We need actually equal investment from the states over those periods. Actually, compared with the $180 billion we spend on health every year in this country, that's not a lot of extra money.
It's a big shortfall. Thank you for your time.